And so, you know, that situation definitely changed a lot out of me because that was definitely the last time that I can say that I even cared to, well, not even, I shouldn't say cared because I didn't care to see my dad around that time. Um, but I should say that I think it was the last chance that I was willing to give my dad, and the last trust that I had in my dad that could ever like really be my dad, and how I view that, um sadly, it's just the truth. It's things that have been done to me. There's so much more. I'm just trying to summarize this the best that I can, you know, and share, the more impactful things that have happened to me, and things that, can give you a perspective of, my life and things that I've had to go through. Um, you know, with that situation, I remember my dad was gonna he didn't even know what to do, man. Like, he was taking me to the hospital with my cousin, you know. They're like, "Oh, Uncle Mike," he's like, "Oh, Uncle Mike, I don't know what you should do." And he's just like, I just was hearing all of this. I couldn't even respond, couldn't even, excuse me, couldn't even like gesture, couldn't do anything, bro, because I was just post concussed, you know bleeding out of my head. I'm telling you, like, I remember blood all around my head, like hematomas all up on the top of my head because of it. Like, it was bad, man. And yeah, my dad basically is plotting with my cousin, like, man, I can't do this. Like, my career will be on the line, like this and that. Like, we're just gonna have to leave him on the side of the road right here, or like I'll just drop him off there, like, or you can go in, like, just trying to come up with anything, man. But they ended up taking me. But again, I didn't say nothing, man. I didn't say a word. I couldn't, but I couldn't say a word, you know. I was post concussed. So, and at the end of the day, when I'm getting basically discharged, they're like, "Oh, you can." He basically tells me like, "Yeah, you can come with us, but like, you'll be on the couch, and like that's like, you know, that's what you have to do." Like, because my cousin was taking my room because I hadn't been there, um, you know, and I was just like, I didn't say a word. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, you want me to come home with you after you just almost killed me? Like, I'm not fucking going near you again, man. Like, straight up, I'm not going near you ever again." And I don't know, man. It's crazy to me because that's like the mentality that he had. Like, that's the mentality that he's changed a lot now, but at least from what I've seen, I'm not around him every day, and I've only seen him a couple times, but it's like, I don't know, he's changed a lot now, but my relationship with him, at least, like, that's how it was, man. Like, he didn't care. like he said he cared, but his actions did not show it. And another example and deeper example of like things that I had to go through with him was, what I could share of when I honestly speaking attempted to commit suicide, man. Um, you know, and this is definitely like a shaky topic, but I'm willing to share it. Um, a lot of people that went to my high school, um, at Gunderson High School, they didn't really know what I was going through with that, in that whole scenario. Basically, you know, I was already given, the strict, treatment that I've shared with you, up until this point. And basically, my dad, he ended up doing a lot of things to humiliate me and emotionally abuse me, relating to just more personal things, just people I was dating at the time, or like, the other humiliation things like sharing information, that I don't want other people to know or want shared, or going through my privacy, on multiple different occasions, um, but it wasn't until a specific scenario where, I was already in kind of a place of being in trouble, and restricted, access to a lot, just for, I don't know, it was probably my grades, honestly, or something. Because, like I said, that got really vamped up in high school. If I was doing average, like C's, man, C's and like, B's, like, it would be like you're basically in trouble. Like you get this taken away or this taken away. Like it wasn't even like even just regular C's. Like I would say more so probably just C's, like C plus, C solid C. It would be like, bro, you're in trouble. Like or you're not playing like on your team. But what's weird is like I would be allowed to play basketball, but I wouldn't be able to play other sports. Or like he'd embarrass me and have me like be in front of a team and read this like letter like saying like I let them down and like all of this crazy stuff, when it's like, and the coaches would be laughing because they'd be like, dude, like not even that serious, but he's making them do this, like, and I'd just be having to embarrass myself and I'd be over here crying and shit, like, and yeah, man, it'd just be like humiliation like that, and again, emotional abuse, man. And eventually it was to the point where I just felt fed up, man. I was getting really depressed, honestly speaking. I felt like a joke to a lot of people, and kind of how I was treated, like it was kind of like people would like clown me about just little things like that, um, and just my relationship with my dad. Um, and it was very humiliating and just embarrassing, man, to get that type of treatment day in, day out. And eventually, um, you know, there was a situation that happened where I basically, my dad had the day before, um, he had broken up. He had acted as me and basically made me break up with a girlfriend at the time. Um, and, you know, I can be honest and say that, I'll just be real. I always keep it real, man. Love for me was always like a very big escape, because, I think for me at home, I didn't feel loved, So I wanted to feel that elsewhere, man. And, relationships meant a big deal to me, because of that. And my dad knew how to emotionally abuse me and mess with me. And he really took it too far when he would do that and invade my privacy. And it came down to that, man, because he ended up breaking up with the girlfriend that I had at the time, and then like dropped me off at school and was like laughing at me about it. And then I go and I'm like crying, and then like, I have to deal with my day basically, and then I'm getting humiliated by that person I was dating at the time. And fuck, man, this shit honestly hurts my heart to like talk about, man. So, whoever hears this, man, I just hope that it does resonate with you. Because it was very difficult to talk about, honestly, and openly be in depth with all this, because I'm basically having to relive it all. Um, and yeah, basically, I got humiliated by that person and so many other people because of that. And this is something that happened time and time again. This was repetitive. It wasn't just like this type of situation. There were other things similar that were humiliating, that like, he did on purpose, and people found out, and then they, or he acted like me over a text or whatever, and then you know I get humiliated because of it. But needless to say, I was getting in a very dark place because I was receiving this kind of treatment, on top of everything else that I've described, with how my dad was. And eventually, it was at the point where my dad was even like taking the door off of my room, not just taking my things away, like my iPod touches, how I said, or like my personal belongings, like he took the door off of my room because he didn't want me to have any sort of privacy or like feel like I could like basically hide anything, from him. And needless to say, and it was because I was getting in a darker place, I think, with like self-harm. I can be honest, because it got to that point, man. I was self-harming myself, um, and began to pretty consistently, and it wouldn't be like my dad was trying to ask me or figure out a solution or answers. It was just like you're kind of alone, and like just get over it type of deal. um and eventually, man, um you know there was one last straw, and that's all it took for me to feel like I would end up attempting to take my life, man. Even to this day, it's a pretty surreal experience because, and it's hard to live with. I think about so many people, honestly, who have, lost their life, um, due to self harm, and people that I knew growing up, um, who still we remember and we honor. But, it hurts me because I could have been one of those people. And I think it hurts me more so because if it makes me almost feel like a lot of times, and sometimes I do get those thoughts even to this day, like I almost like I hate to say it because I'm appreciative of my life now way more than I was then. But to this day, it's like I almost just always say to myself, like, I wish I could trade my life with one of theirs because they, who knows what they were going through and what they had to experience that, nobody knew, man. Nobody knew. But, they did. And, I was one of those people, and that could have been me too, and it makes me wonder, like, I don't know, I look at my life now and it's like nobody would know or care, you know if something like that happened. But it's like, I mean, I shouldn't say that, man. There are people that would care. However, the people who I would expect to care, they wouldn't care, like family, or they might not even know, you know but besides that, you know I honor those. I deeply honor those who, have, unfortunately taken their life, because I was there once as well. Um, and the situation that happened, um, my dad basically had expected me to be home at a certain time in curfew one night, um, when he was aware that I would be going to an art festival for an extracurricular, um, activity, basically, to get basically extra credit for a class that I was taking, when I was taking woodshop. And basically, he knew that, I didn't have a phone, I didn't have an iPod Touch, I couldn't text him, you know. Um, he knew that I didn't have, you know, any means of transportation. He dropped me off, I believe he dropped me off, or a friend picked me up, and then, he allowed me to go, and then again I was expected to be back at, 8 p.m. was what he said. The festival ended around like 9 or so, and I got back at like 9:30 or something like that. Like, I don't know, it was like 9:05. But I remember after the festival, needless to say, ended, I went home. I knew to. Like, I had nothing at home. I basically was in trouble. I didn't even have a door. I didn't even have privacy. So there was nothing that I could lose, but I knew not to do anything bad, you know? I didn't want my ass whooped. I'm like, literally, like, because by that point it was physical, if I got in trouble, man. And, yeah, so I went home, man. And I get in at around, again, like, I'm pretty sure it was like 9:30. And my dad is like waiting for me. Like, I'm about to like get through my garage, the door going from my garage to the living room. And right when I'm opening the door, my dad just blitzes in and he pushes me out the way, like pushes me back. And he's like ripping into me. Where were you? Why weren't you home? Like, this and this. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you think you could do whatever you want? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, usually how he would be if he was ripping me. Um, and he, dude, he got so mad, man. He grabbed me and he threw me into this chair, and I ended up getting a black eye because of it. Um, Ironic way to get a black eye, but I did, man. He threw me into the chair. I broke the chair even. I remember, which is an extra dining chair that we had, this wood chair. And yeah, man, like, I got a black eye. I don't remember if I got hit even in that situation, but you know, I must have, because I got a black eye, dude. And even if it was from me being thrown, like, it was unnecessary. And my dad ripped into me and all that stuff. And you know he yelled at me a shit ton. And uh yeah, he basically just mentally was abusing me, just saying that, his usual, like, you're not my son. Like, he used to love starting to use that sometimes. Like, he would pull that card rarely. That's not my son. You're not my son. You know? Um, and yeah, man, I just had to take that shit. And it hurt a lot at the time. Um, hurt a lot. Because I was just like, man, like, you're not my dad, dude. Like, with how you treat me, like, how can you be my dad? Like, and yeah, that's how it felt. And yeah, needless to say, man, my dad didn't really know how I felt. Um, and I feel like I tried to express how I was feeling um, a lot of the time, but he just wouldn't listen. And it was to the point that after that situation and what happened the day before, with him breaking up with my girlfriend, I felt like my world was over, man. I got into a really dark place. Um, Again, the self-harm continued. I went to school the next day, and my it wasn't like everyone questioned. All my friends were questioning what happened, and I told them what happened, but none of them really cared. They kind of just laughed at it and were like, or just like, dang, like, that's crazy, like, type of deal. And kind of just brushing it off. But it wasn't until I had one of my friends at the time, um, who actually played basketball and played on our travel team. Um, he brought up to my teacher, what had happened when my teacher asked. And he was joking around about it. But, and so was I. I was just trying to laugh it off, but my teacher at the time, he was like, no, that's not funny, like, at all. Like, let's talk after class. And we talked, and it was all three of us actually. And he was like, he told you that this happened? And then, like, to my friend, And he was like, yeah, like, blah, blah, blah. And then he asked me, like, did this really happen? Because it's actually very serious, you know? And I was like, yeah, like it happened, like, literally just last night. And I told him what happened. And, he basically made me go to the principal. He excused my friend. But, he let me know that he really did care. And, like, he did genuinely care. He was a good, honest, man. His name was, like, Coach Asensio or something like that. Um, but yeah, I'll never forget that dude because he was a real one. Um, he looked out for me and he told the principal, who knew my dad very well, because my dad had been coaching there for years, and basically had a meeting, man, and called my dad to the school. My dad was pissed, man. My dad was pissed with me. He was pissed with the teacher who reported everything. And that teacher was pissed with him because he knew deep down that I was telling the truth, and he knew how my dad was, for sure. I don't know if he knew necessarily how hard my dad was on me, but he knew how my dad was and who he was. And yeah, man, he basically had a little like chip battle with him. Um, and then he got sent out, and then the principal questioned my dad. And my dad, basically gave the whole I love my son spiel. I'd never do anything to hurt him that he always gave and gives. And, you know, he just walked away free as usual. I've seen it happen so many times in my life. I was about to cuss, man, because, like, it doesn't make me mad now. I've come to terms with all of this. That's why I'm talking about it all. It hurts to talk about. But I think what almost gets me mad to the point where I was about to cuss right there, like, again, I'm not mad, but it's like, I'm like, man, like, I almost cussed. Like, clearly there's some emotions there. Um, I think it's mainly because talking about it nowadays, I'm a grown man, you know? I can't fight for myself from back then, you know? I'm never gonna be able to relive those times again. It just happened. I have to come to terms with that. I already have come to terms with that. I've let it all go. However, it just, I think, sparks those feelings of like, man, I gotta vouch for that kid again, or I gotta vouch for, you know, that young adult again, who didn't have anyone to speak for them then. That's why I'm speaking about it now. Um, and you can't be afraid to. No matter how embarrassing or how humiliating or how people could judge you. Um, but so yeah, you know, my dad, uh, you know, he got away with that situation. We get in the car, he's ripping me big time, and basically threatening like I'm not doing anything for like ever again, basically, type of deal, like saying that I'm going nowhere, you're not doing anything. Like, these are things that he said to me, man. And just, you're not my son, what is wrong with you, like, get that devil out of there. You used to love to say that too, get that devil out of there, like grabbing my head, like, oh man. And yeah, dude, he basically did not care that I was like threatening to, take my own life. And, uh, yeah, man, I basically ended up doing that the next day. It was a weekend, on a Saturday, and I ended up taking my dad's keys to a loaner van that he had at the time that a parent had donated to him, from what I remember. And dude, I took that car and I freaking crashed it, man. I crashed it into a street lamp in front of my high school, attempting to take my own life. And what's crazy is, man, like, I should have died there. I hit the street lamp, it knocked completely over. I was going probably like 50, I vamped up to. Um, and the electrical wiring, they told us, was exposed to the front of the car, to the front of the van, and the whole van was smashed in the front. Um, and yeah, they basically told me that the car should have just blown up right on impact, man. And it's a pretty, I don't know, for me, I feel like it's hard to hear that and accept that, that I could have been dead when I'm alive now. Um, it's a pretty crazy feeling, I think, to think about. And I get very mixed feelings, knowing that, you know, part of it is sadness, part of it is disbelief, part of it is um, I don't know, just not anger that I wasn't successful in that action, but I think more so anger, a little, this is only a minor fraction um, of it, but just a minor fraction of anger, I think, because it's like, man, like, you know, that could have been me, and I had, if I wasn't in such a place or bad place at that time, you know, who knows if I would have ever taken an action like that. And the fact that I had to take an action like that with everything that I felt like I had in my life is sad. And it's it's almost pathetic to me that I'm alive now. It's such a terrible thing to say, but that's my perspective, man. Like, it could have been me instead of so many other people, dude. And that's my view of life. That's something that I have to take away from life and face with life. But that's how I feel, man. Is that compared to me, man, I don't feel like I deserve it compared to other people that it's happened to. And, you know, there's so many people that I met who have gone through those feelings or taken action and gone that far to take action, and attempt to take action. And it just, like, it hurts me so much hearing it now because I remember those feelings that I had in that time. Um, and, to come back to it all, after that situation, I was put in a mental hospital. I had to stay there for, mind you, mid-school year. I had to stay there for about was there for about 3 to 4 months, I think. I say 4 months, until I was let out. I was released. And when I came back to my school, because I was still, well, first of all, before I even go there, when I was there, I didn't receive any antidepressants or any type of medication. My dad didn't allow it. I don't know if he just thought that I was fine or that I didn't need it, but he and my stepmom came, I remember, to the facility one day, and we basically had an intervention, family intervention, and the whole time my dad basically and my stepmom there just agreeing with everything that, excuse me, with everything that he was saying, agreeing. Not because I feel like she wanted to, but because she had to, because she didn't have a choice. She was married to him. And basically, they both were basically just saying how out of control, how crazy, using psychotic, like, basically all the things that you could throw up, to say that I'm just some punk kid, who's, out of his mind, basically, and just making sporadic choices of, acting out, basically. And my dad used, of course, the good old "I'm not that's not my son," type of line he used to love to use. And yeah, man, I got pissed and I walked out of there. I slammed my hand into a wall, and I just walked to the elevator, and I was like, I'm done here, man. Like, this tells me this guy's never gonna change. You know, they're always gonna treat me this way. Like, this is gonna be who I am to them. And it almost began to like create that type of persona, man, because like, you know, it almost like created someone that I didn't even want to be, or I didn't need to be. But because you guys were viewing me as like this bad or terrible kid, I started going to bad and terrible things, man. I'll be honest. I started smoking weed after this whole um, situation. But before I get to that, man, let me finish. Like, so basically, I get out, 4 months later after being in that facility. When I come back to my high school, everybody's talking, or before that, I'm sorry. When I get out, my dad, I'm so sorry. This is all on the fly, as you see. When I got out the hospital, my dad took me out. My dad was there to get me. He takes me to go get food. I'll never forget this either. I have a great memory, bro. I'm telling you. I get taken out. My dad's there. Takes me to Panda Express. It's like, you hungry? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, let's go. We go to Panda Express. Get whatever you want. Get whatever I want. I just get a plate, bro. Like, I didn't just splurge out. You know, they fed us in the hospital. Trust me. I'm like, wasn't like that. But yeah, I basically got food. I eat. We're on the way back. We get to the house. We don't say anything. He doesn't talk to me at all. Doesn't ask me how I was. Doesn't ask me what I was feeling in there. Doesn't address anything from before. Nothing. We get to the house. I'm about to get out the car, and he just locks the doors, like right as I'm like trying to like pull the handle. And he just looks at me